amazing family gatherings.
My perspective, I went through a phase. I went through a phase where I wanted to be white because I saw how they was treated. It was like seemed like we was like as black people we were secondhand citizens, whereas they was first-hand citizens.
Growing up black, I was told never to touch the thermostat. It was all four of us, and if one person touched it, all of us would get a whooping. So, growing up black, never touch that thermostat.
Growing up black means getting bopped in the head with a hairbrush, being called hard-headed, needing lotion in your purse at all times.
There are so many things I can think about personally when it comes to growing up black. I think about the amazing family values that were instilled in me growing up. I think about how close-knit I am with my family and the continual big Thanksgivings. The spending the night over each other's houses, the accepting close friends as family and telling everyone that we're cousins. I think about how every adult in my life had the opportunity to parent me. What's the saying? It takes a village to raise a child? Yeah, that was definitely my family. However, there are some other things I think about, like how I watched my mom work hard to keep a roof over our head, how she as a single parent put our needs way before home. I watched her go without so that we can have. And the weird thing is, I didn't used to think about this until recently. I started thinking about how the school I went to, the majority of my peers, they came from middle or upper class. My life once I got home was nothing like my peers. My neighborhood, my house, didn't look anything like my white peers. I remember always praying for my brothers that they stay protected and stay out of trouble from the peer pressure that my neighborhood had to offer. In my opinion, growing up black has its challenges. However, looking back, and regardless of the challenges, I wouldn't want to change it for the world. I love my culture. I love the values that we carry from generations and generations. The only thing I desire to do now is to assist in the process of changing the said narrative for so many people of color. And it starts today. Hi, I'm Chantel Athena, and thank you for tuning in to Silent No More's Her Chronicles here on HCTV. Today we will be discussing growing up black from your perspective. Here with me, joining in on the conversation, is Coach Mike Green. He is the basketball coach of the semi-pro basketball team for the Hampton Roads Warriors and Indian River High School. We also have next to him yoga instructor Emily Hawkins. And then on this side of me, on the outside, we have writer, director, and producer Miss Deanna White. And next to me is one of Silent No More's very own, and the face of Zone, and my co-host, Tia Sweat. Thank you all for coming.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to get this started today. The discussion of growing up black, in my opinion, is a very interesting topic. We can go from things that are completely hilarious and things that we can relate to in values, and even to our own personal stories of certain obstacles that we might have encountered. Not all the same, but in some way or another it might be relatable. But today I want to first start off with some fun, lighthearted ideas that was presented in a BuzzFeed article in July of 2015. And the article is actually titled Growing Up Black. So one of the first memes that really caught my attention was the one with the frog in the window when it's raining and it's dark outside. And the author of this meme said, when it's storming outside and your grandmother makes you turn off everything and sit in the dark.
Oh, man.
So I can remember something like that. My grandmother didn't do that, but my uncle did it. And I can remember when it was raining. This is the first time I ever experienced. And he was like, turn all the lights out. Turn all the lights out. And I was like, what are we going to do? Sit in the dark? Yup. We're not doing nothing.
And the first excuse is, you gotta let the Lord do his work.
Yes.
I was like, what?
God,
Lord, why?
like that. Yes.
Yes, that was so funny. Another meme that caught my attention was all these faces. Okay, you guys can see all the 4 pictures, all these faces. And the author said, forgetting to take the chicken out of the freezer and hearing your mom come through the house.
Oh my God. It's the worst feeling in the world. Oh my God.
So, yeah, I can remember my mother would be so upset.
Oh yeah. So she's like, you have one job to do. One job. And then you try to figure out what you're going to eat.
Right.
Chicken ain't enough.
Right, but then if you young, you ain't trying to figure it out. You just scared you gonna get in trouble.
Because you don't know what type of day she had.
You just better be off that camera.
Right. And then the last one that caught my attention was this little boy crying. And these tears are just so pitiful. But him crying, and I guess he's about to get a whooping. And the author said, stop crying before I give you something to cry about.
I learned that if I ramp it up really good and I get those tears going, I might escape it a little bit. You know, I might get some sympathy. So that worked for me.
It didn't work for me. As you can see, there are a lot of things that happen in the Black community. Not all of us had an experience. I'm still laughing because I'm just thinking, like, what in the world? Like, the fact that each one of us can identify with, something so lighthearted and fun as this. It's funny now. I don't know how funny
it wasn't. It wasn't funny. Not at all.
It wasn't funny then. But from a deeper perspective, what does growing up Black mean to each one of you from your own perspective? I shared a little bit in the beginning, just some of the things that I thought about, or even some of the obstacles that I encountered. But from a deeper perspective, anyone can start. What does it mean for you?
For me, it's a culture. It's music. It's being around family. It's cousins, extended family. It's family reunions. It's just having to get along with your brothers and sister and big mama. Family dinners. That's but it does have its dark times too. But ultimately, I think the growing up Black is all about family. Sticking together. That's really important to me.
Growing up Black for me meant all of those things. The number one thing I know for me was you had to know God. Like regardless of if if your parents or whoever raised you, your grandmother was like super saved, you just Black know God. Like Jesus, he's the provider. Like you just had to know him. That's a part of our culture. Like trusting in the Lord. And I will also say growing up Black is like there's like a hidden pressure. It's like a pressure that because your mother struggled or went through something, you just had to become more than your environment. Especially if you grew up in an environment that was not as safe, or I'll say in an environment like the others. Y'all know who the others are. Cool. Like people who are our same color. So when we grew up in those rough or hard neighborhoods, there's like a hidden pressure to make sure that you were successful. And everything.
And sometimes that makes us grow up faster than we should.
Absolutely.
We don't get to really enjoy our childhood.
Correct, definitely. Especially from my perspective, like I grew up pretty hard. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Pleasant Park Apartments, but that's where I grew up at. And, it's pretty tough out there, growing up with people that you can be misguided so easily. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes things in life, like I said, I spent the majority of my teenagehood living in a van. So for me, it was different, But see, when you have friends, my mom used to always say, nobody's ever your friend. And that's something that's been said in the Black community, because a lot of times they don't really help you out of your situation. They kind of just sit back and discuss. And we're not really as hands-on as we should be. But growing up Black for me was just a part of the culture, the poverty, the ghetto, the welfare, everything that came with it. It was just like you had to overcome it. And once you see through it, and you see through your environment, you get introduced to different things. I think that's what we gotta start doing, bringing the positivity back to the culture.
Amen. Absolutely.
Growing up Black for me was always like having determination and breaking chains, like breaking cycles. Because like growing up, I was always, my mom raised me to like, whatever you go through, whatever obstacles are thrown your way, you have to get through it. Like, she would always tell me, look at me, I don't want you to be like me. I don't want you to like work from paycheck to paycheck with kids. Like, her worst fear for me was getting pregnant at the age of 15, you know, because that's when she had my older brother. So she thought she always hard on me because she thought I was going to follow in her footsteps. That's how it was.
Okay. So we know, you know, that every man or woman of color has their own experiences when it comes to growing up black. Not every black person, you know, grows up poor. You know, there are some wealthy. We're not even going to put that out there. Like there are some wealthy, you know, more than some. There are wealthy black individuals. So we want to make sure that, you know, that is clear. And we'll talk about, you know, some statistics and some numbers later. But regardless of, you know, the community that a black individual grew up in, or the financial status, I want us to look at what it means to grow up black in some of our inner city areas. And, you know, before we dive into that conversation, I actually want to go ahead and present a story concerning a young man from our area, and hear what he has to say about growing up black.
You have to be better to be black.
These are the words of Adam Cross, a man who as a boy faced many challenges and obstacles as he navigated his way through the violence, peer pressure, and bullying that took over his community.
Into fights, getting jumped, being shot.
For Adam, surviving the hands of bullies was a constant goal.
Top of the food chain guy, you know, the bully or whatnot, and you know, you're fighting all the time and stuff until they realize and recognize your strength.
Adam says proving one's masculinity was key to survival.
Taking and being rebellious in some kind of way or difficult towards authority. Those were some of the things that, being a go-getter / hustler type deal. That was another thing that exuded, hey, you know, I'm masculine, don't mess with me. And being strong. Yeah.
Adam quickly learned the importance of standing up for himself. His courage strengthened him so much that he found himself in harm's way, protecting a friend.
He pulls the gun out, and he, like, both of the guys are right down the ground, like, tussled up, like, locked up, you know? And he's like, you know what I'm saying, don't move, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, like, stop playing.
We recognize that not every black individual, you know, has these same struggles, which is why I'm specifically speaking about, you know, our inner city black communities, because these struggles are more relatable to that community, and just to kind of bring in some facts, you know. It's stated that, you know, crime, depression, emotional instability, and financial status are heavy influences on the mentality of the individuals that live in the inner city black communities. So all of these play a huge factor in why, you know, these thought processes come, or why these continual generational things are happening. And, you know, to bring in actual numbers, according to the worldpopulationview.com and talkpoverty.com, 22% of the black community as a whole, meaning every single black individual in the United States, 22% of us are in poverty. Now that might not sound like a lot, but in comparison to the white population, only 8.8% of them are in poverty. So it does, 22% sounds like a low number, but when you compare it to our white population or any other population, because Hispanics is only 19.4%. So when you think about any other population, we are actually the highest. Our population is the highest in poverty, almost 3 times the amount of the white population. And so even though everyone is not in poverty, a good percentage of the black community is in poverty. And these continual thoughts, or these crime habits, or these states of depression, or the financial status, you know what I mean, it continues to go on and on and on. So my last question for this particular segment
Coming up next on Her Chronicles.
Is there a way to change the narrative? And is there a way to assist those who are living the narrative?
Because right now my surroundings, they're just working. It's day by day for them. They're paying rent. You know, it's nothing like, oh, none of my friends are really in college right now.
What you say? Okay. He made a permanent decision for a temporary situation, and I'm not even sure what that situation was. That's how unclear